Hey class, I am posting just a little feedback about the cultural dimensions assignments and the discussion posts that you've been posting this week. Um, I'm enjoying reading them and getting to know you a little bit better and understanding where you're coming from. A lot of you have things in common as well as differences. And so I just want to point out a few themes that I've noticed from the feedback that I've gotten. So, one of the main areas that most of you said in that second question on the assignment that you had difficulty understanding or identifying with was restraint culture. Um, and some of the reasons for that came across to me like uh, you perceive restraint culture as like bad for other people. And I get that. I think one of the reasons for that is because one of the American cultural values is kind of the pursuit of happiness, right? Well, that we should be happy, and that we should do everything that we can to be happy. But a restraint culture doesn't have that value, and so when we judge another culture by our value of happiness, then it makes it really hard to understand, and it's even difficult for me to remove that element of need for happiness from my judgment on other cultures. And so I think this is one of the reasons why ethnocentrism happens so much in our lives, because our values are so ingrained to us. It's like, why wouldn't someone want to have the value of happiness in their culture? We have a hard time understanding why that would be beneficial to them at all. And honestly, I don't have an answer to that question, but I just want to put it out there for you to think about what benefit could there be to curbing that desire for happiness or instant gratification, or just having our immediate feelings met for leisure and control. That there may be some benefit in giving up happiness for the greater good or for something else. And I do know that there are research that shows that health is improved in indulgent cultures, and quality of life and things like that. So I'm not advocating that restraint culture or indulgent culture is better or worse. But when it comes to how we assess it, I think it's important that we understand where we're coming from, just to seek a place of understanding. The second thing that I want to point out is some of you mixed up the terms uncertainty avoidance and ambiguity tolerance. So your textbook uses ambiguity tolerance, and there's a video that is in the additional resources that another professor in the communication department developed that I think you should watch on ambiguity tolerance. Some of the Hofstede resources refer to it as uncertainty avoidance, and I know that can be confusing, but for testing purposes, you need to look at ambiguity tolerance. So please review that material, just making sure that you understand the terminology for that and don't get confused. And then lastly, one thing that I noticed, and maybe I haven't read all of your posts yet, is that nobody mentioned the Super Bowl as being a part of culture. And as it's coming up this weekend, I was just struck by the amount of influence that football, American football, has on my life and just in general around me, from the type of food that we eat and expectations for hot wings and lots of different dips and jalapeno poppers and things like that, that make me excited to celebrate the Super Bowl. Other people look forward to the commercials and this cultural element of new commercials coming in during a captive audience that's watching the Super Bowl. And some people actually like the commercials better than the game. We're also culturally aware that football players and just the whole structure has influence on how we shape our view of the world. And we see that with the debates going on around the national anthem over the past several years, around domestic violence and things like that, and how when something is so saturated in our culture, it really makes a bigger difference than just the game on the field. And so I just wanted to kind of put those things out there for you to think about this week as you're moving into the next lesson and reviewing the material that you've covered so far. We're moving into the listening chapter is often one of the chapters that I hear students say, this was the most meaningful to me. I recognized I really need to improve my listening. So I just encourage you to really take personal inventory of your own need to improve your listening and how that might impact your relationships and your communication at work. Thanks.